Newman.
If you want to chime in what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, well, you can. It's really easy. You just go to the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686, 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Seifert back with us from Eden Prairie Mall, the Shields location. We're on the main level. What's the section we're in? If people are looking, because this is a big store.
Yeah, if you came in the main level, main door, you just go right to your left, and we're right here.
Right near the Unreal stuff, basically, which is apropos.
To the left of the fish tank.
Given that's what Guardsy and I are wearing, Unreal.
This is nice, isn't it?
Apparel. You think they could get me a fancy embroidered Bears one like this too?
Do you have the style where it's black on black so nobody can actually see what the
I love that style.
Me too.
Okay.
We just wear what we're given.
Yeah, well, this was on my desk when I came in yesterday.
Free, it's me.
Yeah, that's
right.
It's a wonderful thing. All right, so we've talked about tension level, and I think since the last time we talked about it, they've lost a couple more games. So now we're sitting at 4-8. Playoffs are pretty much. We're not mathematically eliminated yet, are we?
No, but it's
pretty
like close. Less than 1% chance.
Less than 1%,
according to ESPN.
Wow. Well, that's last word.
We'll let you know.
Your PhDs are last word on any of these deals. So, is it palpable now? Or is it reached almost a point of okay, we're past that. We know we're not going to be a playoff team, so now we kind of go into another gear, and we're not quite as tense as we were before.
Yeah, I don't. Well, entering last week, I didn't think things were quite as tense. This game was so bad offensively that, if you made a list of every single NFL game that's been played for the past 2 decades in terms of the offensive production, it's at the very bottom. It's like there's like 10,500 teams that have played offense in games going back to and they're at like 10,420 or something. They're within a tiny 1% of the absolute worst offensive games that have ever been played in this.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
And so, I think that, and not to rub it in, but I think that just the level of what's happened here. If you start the halftime of the Packers game, through the Seahawks game offensively, it's been at such a low level that I think I don't want to say raised tension, but it's like it's really a hit. This is not just like a season that's gone wrong. This is a season that has hit an nearly unprecedented rut.
Well, I think we quoted, in fact, you had retweeted something about is it the DVOA?
Yes. Yeah.
And for some reason among you football wonks, that seems to be one of the analytics that people believe in the most. Mm-hmm. It got my attention because I think this was the worst. The Seattle game was the worst DVOA reading that the Vikings had the last 50 years. And it was offensively. Yeah. And it was 20 percentage points worse than the second worst, which was a Les Steckel game in 1984.
30%.
Was it 30% worse? Okay, even worse. It wasn't even close.
No, and that gives you just an idea of just the depth of how bad it's been. And the other part of that was the Falcons game in week 2 was in the top 10 also. 2 of the 10 worst, or 2 of the 9 worst offensive games since most of their fan base has been alive in 1978.
How humbling must this be for the quarterback whisperer? It's got to be.
Yeah, I'm going to address that in the story this week, and just and he did. He talked about it yesterday. He brought up that you had basically what he was saying is that he's realizing he's been too ambitious in the passing, in sort of the
How long have we been telling him that?
And not so
you mocked me.
Not as much
too negative
run
on
and pass.
No, but that's a lot of it.
But the scheme, one of his skills, I think, and I mean this genuinely, is that he can match the routes and the concepts to the defenses that are being played, and that's how you get open receivers flying 20, 30 yards downfield. And we've seen a lot of chunk plays in the first 3 years of this offense from whether it's Cousins, Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, getting it to Justin Jefferson 20 yards
Yes.
downfield. We've seen that, and that's sort of their offensive philosophy of how you move the ball into scoring position. You got to get chunks. It's not just these tiny, quick game type things.
Not according to Ben Johnson.
But
he'll take 6 yards on every run.
And so what he said was like,
Saying.
yeah, right, yeah. And what he said is that he's realizing that like, despite what he might see is available to him, he needs to gear down to what can be executed, basically.
But shouldn't that have been obvious a little sooner?
I think that's a fair observation.
Because that sounds very much like, well, I don't care what I'm capable of doing. By God, I studied hard this week, and I see all these openings.
Yeah.
And if your team, though, doesn't have the capacity, starting with your quarterback, to take advantage of them, then you have to, in at least a short run, go to a different way.
Yeah, and it might be that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
I can't speak to like what the adjustment, because they have made some adjustments. Like they do, like when I was looking at it today, when you filter all their plays for times when they were either tied or ahead, they have run the ball a lot more than they did pass in previous years. And so like there has been that adjustment. There has been some, they've pulled some of the concepts that that weren't working. So it's not as if they've done nothing, but I think what to me, and it speaks, we talked about this a few years ago during sort of the Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall time, is that maybe, the offense as it's built and conceived, whether it matches an inexperienced quarterback of any, whether it's Max Brosmer, Jaron Hall,
Exactly, yep.
J.J. McCarthy.
Whether it's a journeyman or it's a rookie or second-year player.
Yeah, like that. Maybe that's not a great match either, and that's probably part of what we're talking about. There's been a lot of success with guys who have been in the league a long time, whether it's Cousins, Mullins, or Sam Darnold. That when they've put inexperienced / young quarterbacks on the field to run even a version of this offense, it's not worked very well.
Here's the stat I want, and maybe you'll tell me you've already reported it or someone else has. What I want to know is how different are we to the average when it comes to pass, run, decision on 3rd and 3 or less over, let's just say, the last 3 years? Does anybody have that?
It's gettable. I've just been looking at like 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1.
That's fine.
And they are, I don't know where it stands right now, but they definitely throw a lot more in those situations than most NFL teams. And so, like, I don't know if it's like number 1 the most or in the top 5, but it's in that.
But considerably more.
Yeah. Than the average.
There we go. See?
Yeah. But
that's a problem.
Like, and that's part of it. But like to me, like that's a smaller part of the larger picture that he's acknowledging, that like the concepts and just sort of the idea of how they're going to score points and how they're going to move the ball isn't matching up with what they're capable of doing right now.
I'm looking for the headline here to set this up. Give me a second.
Sure.
I think I can find it on the fly because it's related.
You don't have the comforts of the studio
quarterback
right
situation.
Now.
No, I don't, unfortunately. Here's the headline. This is a headline on an Alec Lewis piece that's up right now. And I want to see if you agree that the Vikings are already at the point that he suggests they are.
Okay.
Here's your headline. Vikings seem likely to return to all too familiar quarterback market this offseason. So are we already at a place where you agree with that when you factor in losing another year of Justin Jefferson in his prime, that whether they want to be or not, they're going to have to bring in a veteran quarterback and spend some money to do it, to legitimately, at the very least, compete for the starting job, and maybe more likely be the starter, even if it's at the expense of J.J. McCarthy's growth?
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what qualifies in that regard. Like, are they just looking for someone who can start if J.J. is not any good? Or
that's what I'm asking. I'm saying Mac Jones, Daniel Jones.
Like, do they need to do what the Colts did and go out and pay $17 million or $15 million to get next year's Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones himself will be a lot more expensive than that next year.
If maybe not. He's coming back to the pack now.
He is. And who that person would be, I don't know. Like the Mac Jones thing, you got to trade for him, but I don't know if I'm quite at the point where I say that they cannot go into next season with J.J. McCarthy as their starter. I just know that they have to go into next season with a much better alternative than they did. Go into training camp with a much better alternative than they did with Sam Howell. Like there was this was basically a no competition traiing camp, and there needs.
But was that deliberate?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that a mistake?
No. Okay. I think they wanted. I really think they wanted to sign Daniel Jones and had and thought they were going to, and then when he bolted to the Colts, I think they were caught a little flat-footed, or they clearly didn't have a third option after Darnold, and Rodgers, whatever.
Till Brosmer came along,
and so they, yeah, and so are you awake? Yeah, you're there.
I'm just letting it pass over me.
Yeah,
I can't take every opportunity.
What's the statute of limitations? Like, is it what? There's got to be.
The problem is he's never going to play again, so it's in perpetuity.
Yeah.
It's forever.
I'm worried he's traumatized, but anyway, I know he's a tough guy.
No, and so
resilient.
Resilient.
I think
fast learner.
What I've been saying for a while is that it would have been fascinating if Daniel Jones had come back with the idea that he'll be there in case JJ, because everybody was kind of in the mode of like, JJ, he's going to be a starter, but if he gets hurt again, or if like for some reason he can't throw a football straight or whatever, then they'll have Daniel Jones, and that was the mode. But it would have been interesting thinking back to training camp, based on how JJ performed, like. Daniel Jones would have probably been better than him. Like, there's ways to rig it, and there's ways to say, like, well, they're close enough that, like, if, I'm not going to, like, if it's 51-49, I'm not going to start Daniel Jones over J.J. McCarthy. And so I get that. But he might have been significantly better than him, and that would have been really interesting. Ultimately, like, not having anything close to a competition or anybody that could challenge him in any way, and remind him, that you're not guaranteed of this forever. It was to their detriment. Now, if there was a mistake, I think it was probably thinking that they had Daniel Jones locked up when clearly they did not.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that before. What's been reported, I think, is that we offered him $1 million more.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's true. And obviously, though, he was smart. He read the tea leaves that no matter what they tell me about it, having a chance to compete here, I wasn't going to have as much of a chance here as in Indianapolis.
But they clearly thought that they could convince him that it was still a better situation for him to come back here and be J.J. McCarthy's sidekick or whatever, for a year, and then go do what Sam Darnold, like basically be the San Francisco for Sam Darnold that before he came to the Vikings. And so, and there is a lot of things to like about being in this, if you're a veteran quarterback, a lot of things to like about being in this position. As it turned out, he would have played plenty because of the injury that JJ had, and who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, but he can't count on that.
No, you can't count on that. And he made the right decision. I said that from the start. Like, it was the right decision for his career, for sure. If you get a chance, if somebody's offering you a chance that you're probably going to be a team starter, unless it's like a rebuilding team where you and so bad that that you're going to look terrible and it'll ruin your career, then you take it.
All right, let's get to the nitty gritty here.
Okay.
By the way, can we go to 27?
We can.
Okay. So, as we look back now, did you, as one of the media jackals, you and the rest of you guys who are at training camp every day, did you guys drop the ball? To the extent that you couldn't really evaluate him because there was nobody that good who was there anyway. And if you look back on it now and say, well, he didn't win anything and he didn't really look that good, but we didn't have anything else to compare against, so we maybe overrated the few times where he looked decent.
I mean, everybody can be their own judge of it.
Yeah.
I think that the local coverage was responsible and accurate. I think that we did point out that there's a fair bit of inaccuracies. I remember asking JJ about his accuracy and why it was going the way it was going. And first he said he thinks he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks out there. And he also
Jefferson, you're talking about? No, you asked.
I asked JJ McCarthy. Why,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
I thought you meant you asked Jefferson about McCarthy's
I don't think we
accuracy.
Asked, not in training camp. But then he also said that there's definitely some things that sitting out an entire year came back not as good as it was before. And so I personally, maybe I'm just defending myself and the rest of the crew for selfish reasons, but I think that if you follow the coverage on a daily basis and in total, you knew that JJ had had an up and down training camp, because it wasn't like every throw was sailing 10 yards over people's heads. It was just that there was more than what you would expect, and you also didn't. The entire offense seemed to be in flux too, and so. But it was also okay, I think, to give it some benefit of the doubt and say, like, this guy did not practice at all last year. He's never, done a first-team NFL offense. Like, it's okay to expect things to start off slow and grow. Instead, it actually kind of got worse. He was not as poor as we've seen him in his worst moments in these games. There was nothing in training camp that told you he was
those aren't
that
games.
bad. No, but there was nothing like an entire,
because nobody can hit the quarterback in training camp anyway, right?
But they can rush.
Yeah.
And so there was never a time when I was watching him with whatever experience I have and saying, like, this could be really bad. It looked like it was going to be up and down. And what happened, in reality, mathematically, like, a lot of the plays that in the games are not that bad. Like, it's just that, like, the 5 or 6 really bad ones are the ones that tend to, you can have 5 or 6 plays that ruin an entire game, and we've seen that. So, I don't have any, I guess at the end of the year, I'll look back like I always do. I don't have any regrets about not pressing the alarm button on JJ, because I don't think it was as alarming as you would think it would need to be to produce the kind of season that end up producing.
Do you think they're left with no other conclusion, if they're being honest, but that they, in fact, did misjudge how long it was going to take? If you still want to buy the premise that he can be a really good quarterback someday, is it fair to say they misjudged? This is going to be one of those. There seem to be two kinds of young quarterbacks, right? Some that can be plugged in almost immediately, and they're going to have ups and downs, but they're going to be pretty good to very good almost immediately. And then there's the ones where, well, no, they need to sit 2 years, maybe even a little 2.5 years, and then they've got to have a year where they're allowed to play through their mistakes. And then you get through to year 3, guy might take off.
Yeah.
So it appears to me we already have enough evidence that they misjudged, because there's no way off of 14-3, I don't believe they thought it was going to be this rugged.
No,
correct?
I think they did too much projecting with him at a time. The NFL calendar is what it is. You have to make your decisions at a certain time. At the time they're deciding on Darnold and trying to get Daniel Jones and thinking about talking to Aaron Rodgers, J.J. McCarthy had not had a single offseason snap yet. Remember how he ended last year? He was like 180 pounds, because of all the weight loss that he had during his rehab and all that. So you got a guy that's basically at that time was just trying to get back to his playing weight and was doing like individual throws. Like there was nothing football wise that they could use to project what he was going to be at the time that they had to make the decision. So they projected that they could. I don't know if finagle's the right word, but they could conjure a good enough performance out of him, even if he was rusty.
With the people they put around him.
And the coaching that they had, and the things that they saw in training. And I think we talked about this last week, or I talked to somebody about it. Like, last summer's training camp, so 2024, when he was a rookie, was nothing like what we've seen. He was he was on his way to potentially challenging Sam Darnold for the starting job by the end of that. Like, it was really good, and the arrow was going up, and so he just didn't pick up where he left off in a big way.
So is that
I think
is that more mental than physical?
It's both. I think he said this in training camp and hasn't really come back to it, but he definitely, rust is not the right word, but he lost some of the touch on his passes, 100%. And it was a really tough year to be away from football for all that time, and he's kind of talked a little bit about that. And ideally, they wouldn't have had to make any decision about the quarterback position until, training camp, but that's just not the way the NFL calendar works. So they had to make a calculated projection of where he would be, what it would mean to have him sit another year, have 2 straight years of relative inactivity, and what it would mean to put him, throw him into the deep end and hope that the support system would be able to take care of it.
Kevin Seifert is with us on location today, our Toys for Tots event at Shields in Eden Prairie. We will be here until 6:30 tonight. Louis will join by telephone in about 1 hour. Part of what you guys have to do, whether you like this part of the job or not, I think, especially going forward the rest of the season, is almost daily, certainly weekly, but maybe daily, take Justin Jefferson's temperature. Because we're all waiting for these signs, either obvious ones or subtle ones that he's had enough. And there's going to be this moment where he says, I'm done. I've tried to be the good soldier, but I'm done with it. So how do we interpret how he seemed to be emoting and acting during and after the most recent debacle?
Well, I've only caught up a little bit on during the game. I guess he was sitting on the cooler,
yes, away from the bench,
even. But that's happened in at the end of some other games, or the implication is not. I think he's been pretty frustrated on the field at the end of games, more than once this year.
Right.
This was the first time that he declined to speak to the media, and it was a little bit of a weird situation the way it's set up in Seattle in terms of where the locker room is and where the interview room is, and so I was not in the locker room very much at all after the game. I was in the interview room to get O'Connell and then to get Max Brosmer, but Justin's been doing this long enough. Like, it wasn't like he didn't realize that people didn't want to talk to him. He chose not to, and so you can only we'll get him at some point and we'll ask him about it. You can only assume that he either didn't want to have to say the same thing over and over again, or was concerned about what he might say. Those are the two options. My guess is more of the former.
Right.
He's been around long enough. Like, if he were the blow up kind of, post game interview guy, at some point in the past 5 years, that probably would have happened, or 6 years. And so I don't think that he was ready to blow kind of thing. And if it ever came to be that he wanted to have a fresh start, I don't think he would stand in front of camera, be the person and do that. It would just be communicated to the team, and they would go from there. And so there's no public evidence that he's changed how he feels about the organization or changed how he feels about the situation. But when one after another piles on, it just feels that much worse.
So what's he make now, or what's he going to be making next?
Well, his contract is basically $35 million a year.
Okay.
So that's how it works out.
When I've asked you about this before, you've recoiled at the whole concept. But I'll ask it again now. Does there come a point where, if you're going to have a quarterback on training wheels that's going to take a lot of time, that it makes no sense to continue to pay or to have a $35 million wide receiver, no matter how much you love him?
Well, sort of their whole team building concept is that he's the franchise, he's the quarterback of the team. And so I did a story this past offseason about, have there ever been times in the NFL history where you've seen a Hall of Fame, a big time Hall of Fame kind of receiver win a Super Bowl with a quarterback that was whatever? And no. The answer is no. If you look at all the Hall of Fame receivers that won a Super Bowl, the only ones that won it without a Hall of Fame quarterback is Cliff Branch, who was playing with Jim Plunkett, who is a borderline Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was redemption guy who came back.
Very good.
Yes,
it's a long time ago.
Right.
But for the experienced fans, he was a really good player. And the other one is Art Monk, who won, I think, with Stan Humphries and
that's a good point.
And not Jay Strait, Mark Rippon.
And
that's
true. Yeah.
So he's sort of
just a credit to, by the way, Joe Gibbs, their coach.
Joe Gibbs, and they were a big run team, and all that. But whatever.
The
Hogs.
Yeah, we wouldn't know
John
about
Riggins,
the Hogs.
Counter Trey, all that kind of stuff.
We don't get excited about the Hogs here.
No, we're a passing team.
team.
So it really, it's not. There's not a whole lot of precedent in the entirety of NFL history for Justin Jefferson, or would Jerry Rice have won a Super Bowl without Joe Montana? You go to the very high levels. Randy Moss, Hall of Fame receiver, didn't win a Super Bowl, and he did play with a Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady. And so Chris
Carter never won a Super Bowl.
It's a team
all the quarterbacks here,
right? And so the team building concept would be, we're paying Justin Jefferson as our franchise guy, and we're getting a steal at the quarterback position because he's on a rookie contract, but you need to have the level of performance, and so clearly that makes it a very uphill challenge.
All right, we got one more short segment with Mr. Seifert before I think you got stuff to go do.
Yeah.
Been a good hour with him. We'll get a couple more questions in for Seifert. Top 5 at 5 yet to come. Louis will join as well to talk some hockey about your red-hot Minnesota Wild club. Are we back in action tonight? think we are, aren't we?
I believe so.
Pretty sure we're back in action tonight. Edmonton, Blakemore reminds me. So we'll get to all that with Luigi a little bit later as well. Back in just a minute, right here in the Fan.
We're broadcasting live from Shields and Eden Prairie all day today for our annual Toys for Tots broadcast presented by Unreal. Still some time to get out there. Got at least 2 hours. We'll be collecting donations until 6:30 for Toys for Tots. We need your help. If you are one of the first 50 people to donate a toy to each show, you can see if there's any still laying around. A KFAN Unreal Winter Beanie. Don't miss out on Vikings guests all day long. KFAN.com, keyword toys to help donate.
All right, what else is there to talk about other than the quarterback situation for this team, Kevin Seifert? At this point, what's left? What's worth talking about?
You know, I mean, I guess if you want to get really conspiratorial and you could say, like, a season like this that so much money has been spent on, I think they had, $350 million is what the payroll is for.
So are the owners cranky?
So that would, it's like, there will be accountability, but will accountability include people coming and going? And I don't have the answer to that yet. I don't know. Both the coach and the general manager signed contract extensions after last season.
Yeah.
You don't often see anything along those lines changing so quickly. But I guess there's coaching staffs, there's scouting staffs, there's personnel staffs. It's hard, I think, and you asked about tension earlier, and so I think everyone who has experience in the NFL knows that oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes when there's a season this disappointing and this, I guess catastrophic in some ways, given the amount of money that's been spent and given the amount of work that might need to be done at quarterback and other positions to kind of recover from it, that often someone is scapegoated or someone is held accountable or something has to be changed. You can't just run it back. And so, or sometimes they do, but often they don't.
Right.
And so the question now becomes, through the course of the next 5 weeks and into the start of the off season, is who, if anyone, will be held accountable. I don't have answers for you or speculation on that.
It's too early, probably.
But I do think that that's what we all need to be thinking about and wondering, what will, typically, the Wilfs at the end of the season, whether it ends without the playoff or in the playoffs or whatever, they have a sort of high-end organizational meeting. It's often in New Jersey, in their offices there, where the top people from the various departments go. Sometimes it's just the coach and the GM and somebody else or what have you. And so that's where that all, I think, will probably get hashed out, if there's going to be anything to hash out. But we'll see. We'll see exactly. And I don't know. I think there could be some variance in it based on how these 5 weeks go. If they finish in a way that tells you that it looks like they finally figured it out, or the quarterback finally figured it out, or they're going in the right direction and the plan is good, then maybe it's not, the accountability doesn't stretch into people losing their jobs, but we'll have to see.
Is it fair to say that if the Vikings had avoided the big pick six that opened up the game a little bit from a scoring standpoint, and let's say somehow, playing really conservatively, had eked out something like a 12-9 victory with a bunch of field goals, that the big angle of the story would be, well, I mean, Sam Darnold, yeah, he's looked pretty good much of the season, but man, we didn't see all that much in this game. If the angle you're looking for is Sam Darnold revenge game, and he proved once again that the Vikings screwed up not finding a way to keep him, because there was nothing about the Seattle offense that impressed me much. Now, again, that's one game, but would that have been the angle?
In a way, in Seattle, I've been following sort of the coverage post-game, and there's been a lot of discussion about what it means, because it was was it 2 weeks ago when he played the Rams and threw 4 interceptions, and then they had a decent game, and then this one, which I don't think prompted a whole lot of confidence and excitement, and I think in Seattle has prompted a little bit of discussion of what we talked about here is that, there's a lot of good things about Sam and the way he can throw the ball and create yards and touchdowns and wins in the regular season. But what is his ceiling? Like, is he going to end up being for Seattle what he was for Minnesota, get them to the playoffs and no further? And so, that discussion there is already happening, but there's a lot of teams, and we said this last year too, a lot of teams that would, it would be an upgrade to have even that level of performance.
Who's the best team in the division?
In the division, obviously the Bears are first place.
This isn't a trap. I'm not going to be offended if you don't pick the Bears because I'm not. I don't think they are the best team in the division, frankly. But
I think the Packers are, and I know the Bears are on the top of the division and top seed and all that. But however it ends up working, like I think the Lions have had there's just a lot of injuries there, and they got kind of desperate trying to get Frank Ragnow at center, and then he. It turned out he was walking around with a grade 3 hamstring tear, which is basically when it's off the bone. And so and so he's not able to help. And so they've just had a lot of injuries. Dan Campbell, pulled play calling from his new offense coordinator in the middle of the season, and it's worked a little bit better. But I think if I had to pick a team right now that's most well-rounded, it's the Packers, and we'll see, how, whether it's the yin or the yang when they get to the playoffs. But to have a defense like that, that's just, can be lights out, and to have a closer like Micah Parsons who can, if a game is close, can take over another team's offense. And to have, I still think this, for as much crap as Matt LaFleur has gotten for the way he's called plays and managed the offense, I still think they have a pretty good group there. And so all around, are they the best team in the NFC? I don't know, but in the division, I think they are.
Did Ben Johnson effectively silence the BMI debate about which NFC North coach has the best BMI when he took his shirt off after the Bears' Black Friday victory over the Eagles?
I kind of blacked out when he did it. No, I'm kidding. It was impressive. I'm glad he held up on the bet that he had made, and so that was. I don't think we'll see many other coaches doing that. It's funny. Like Dan Campbell probably is in terms of physical specimens.
You wouldn't want to fight
North.
him.
That's not the guy, but who knows? But he's not taking his shirt off.
He ain't BMI guy.
Sometimes the guys that take their shirts off are not the toughest. They're the guys that want people to think they're the toughest.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's true.
And so Dan Campbell doesn't need to take his shirt off.
That's very, very true. But I think Ben's. I mean, KFC's in there.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, and obviously, Packer guy has got great.
I'm glad you
BMI.
haven't given up on this investigation.
No, and you refuse to do some tenacious reporting.
I can't believe you guys haven't done that story. You have numbers for everything. You should do. They should be tested for their BMIs.
There's a lot of HIPAA stuff that go into that. We're trying to work through the legal calamities of it.
Well, what somebody said yesterday was the day before. In all honesty, it would be much more fun if Andy Reid would take his shirt off for all the obvious reasons, right? It's like, screw it. I don't care that I'm not supposed to. I don't have a big BMI. I'll take my shirt off.
The Bielema spring break photo that you love.
It's still my favorite.
Your favorite picture.
It's the greatest sports photo ever. You've seen it, right? The Bielema.
I think so.
Spring break photo.
I don't get as excited about this whole idea. I think as some.
Well, you gotta like Bielema.
Yeah.
You gotta understand Bielema.
He's a character. Yeah.
And he is a character to appreciate what I like about it is. It's what they say about the Europeans.
He didn't make an ESPN body issue.
He's showing me a photoshopped ESPN body issue.
And he's got the beard. He's in some tent. He's just living his best life. He's bigger now than he is then.
Yeah, that looks like
that's a slender Bielema.
Yeah.
That's Wisconsin Bielema.
To me, it's the old European thing of I envy the freedom that a lot of European men that go 3 bills have where they're at the beach. I'm at the beach.
Saw that in the Bahamas.
I'm taking my shirt off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize if I weigh. I'm not trying to win any contest. I'm comfortable with myself. I think Europeans figure that out better, and I think Bielema does too.
Maybe it needs to be something amongst KFAN hosts.
Well, that's
which KFAN host has the best BMI.
That would be bad. That would be very bad.
That'd be a bad contest.
Put producers in there too.
Yeah.
No, I know that would be bad for all of us. It'd be
It's all relative. Who has the best? I'm going to say if anybody.
Yeah,
has a good
that's
one.
true. Somebody's got to win, is what you're saying.
There's not a lot of great BMI.
Well, that was the famous
rooms either.
What was the famous weight weight off. It was between Charles Hallman and Gary Olson from former longtime Pioneer Press writers. And the deal was they both were trying to lose weight.
Okay.
So they did the old, okay, we're going to, for the next 6 weeks, we're both going to work on diets, whatever. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, whoever's lost more takes the other to, I don't know, whatever the prize was. I don't remember what the prize was. And I don't remember who won it, but one of them won it by gaining less weight than the other. Neither lost weight. One only gained 17 and the other only gained 10.
That is exactly the outcome I would expect in any group of media people.
That's exactly right. Well, thanks for coming to see us.
Sure.
We appreciate you as always. And we'll chat with you next week, I think, after another Vikings setback. Or is this the week we get on the winning track?
Washington's having their own struggles right now.
Who's playing quarterback for them?
Mariota was good last week.
Yeah. The Jaden Daniels, I guess, was throwing, but he hasn't been cleared for contact yet. And so
he ain't gonna,
if you're Washington and he's your guy, like, would you be rushing him back? No. I mean, he might play. It's still 5 games left. He might be able to play before the end of the year.
He ain't going to last in the league, I'm telling you.
If he's not cleared for contact on a Monday, would you play him the following Sunday?
I don't think I will. And JJ, we do expect will start?
Yes.
And who's the backup? That's what I want to know. Is Brosmer the backup, or is he number 3?
It's a good question. I expect he would be the backup, but
that's not been confirmed.
They would have to put John Wolford on the 53 in order to make him the backup. So I guess they could elevate him to be from the practice squad, but I expect Brosmer to be there.
Number 2? Because, JJ could get hurt.
One snap away.
I'm just going to say.
One snap away.
Okay, the guy's not been very durable.
Yeah.
At this point.
So we'll see.
Thank you. Kevin Seifert, ESPN.com. Don't forget Top 5 coming up top of the hour. Louie by telephone to talk about your favorite hockey team, the Red Hot Minnesota Wild at 5:30.
Man. Wild fans, this is your season. You can experience the energy, the goals, the unforgettable moments at Grand Casino Arena and get your tickets now, including to Wild Stars December 11th, Wild Capitals December 16th, wild.com/tickets to cheer on the Wild this season, wild.com/tickets.
We have not talked much college football yesterday or today to this point. Let me ask you, the number one college football story, much to my chagrin, is not Indiana University. It is, of course, Lane Kiffin and his move from Ole Miss to Louisiana State University. And by the way, he's one of us, right? He grew up here.
Bloomington Jefferson grad, right?
Yeah. Has he also, though, because of the time he spent in the South, has he invented a fake Southern accent as well?
Kind of, because
he kind of has.
Well, he brought it up in his press conference yesterday or whenever it was that just being in Louisiana, he said it made him want to talk like that. He called Ed Orgeron, the old guy,
right,
and then just said, "Go Tigers." Like you want to make fun of Brian Kelly, but it must be in the water down there.
All right, so the debate among media jackals, it surprised me a little bit, but there seem to be a lot of jackals who aren't even necessarily huge Lane Kiffin fans who say they believe he should have been allowed to coach. I don't know what world they're living in, because I just think that's impossible.
Yeah.
Even if it sounds like a cool movie. What do you make of that whole debate?
It's stunning. Now, one of the guys that's saying it is Nick Saban.
Yeah, and didn't Saban get rid of Kiffin for taking another job? I thought
he did.
There was, wasn't there? So
he was the offensive coordinator.
So isn't that a bit?
It is
hypocritical.
It's bizarre. It's strange.
Yeah,
I don't understand it either, because as much as Lane has rehabilitated himself, allegedly, he's still a little sneaky.
Yeah.
And if you're letting him hang around with all the Ole Miss guys, I mean, he's probably going to take a lot of them anyway after the season's done. No, there's no world that now the guy who took the Florida job is coaching Tulane through the end. Like, I think when it's a smaller school, like,
get away with
because everybody understands that guy wasn't going to be at Tulane forever. It's a great opportunity, but finish it with your team and then move on. No, he can't coach. He can't coach in the playoffs. If you wanted to coach in the playoffs, stay at Ole Miss. I'm not the first to say it. It made no sense. No sense.
I was surprised at the number of people who, maybe they wanted to believe in the story.
Yes.
And they were rooting for the story. I just don't know how you could be angry with the folks at Ole Miss who said, we can't do this.
Exactly.
Now, a lot of people have suggested the solution is to move the clock. Is there a movable clock that could have eliminated the possibility of this taking place in between the end of the regular season and the start of the postseason.
We discussed this on the Parent and Spare podcast this week with Chip Scoggins and Ryan Burns. I don't know what you do because everybody agrees the calendar is completely screwed up when you have, whether it's for a coaching search, a signing day, or the transfer portal window, which is coming up in January now, and there's only one transfer portal window, so everything will be firmed up by January. The only way you do it is you have everything after the season. But to do that, you have to almost move the season to like August 1st to get all these games in.
Yes.
Right? Because everyone agrees that the calendar is completely screwed up, that coaches have to decide this now.
Yeah.
Like last year, Penn State's backup quarterback entered the portal while they are in the college football playoff. And people say, why is he doing that? Well, he knows he wants to transfer, and he's got to go find a spot to play. I'm sure he would have loved to stay at Penn State. I think James Franklin even brought that up. He said, we love the kid. We understand why he's leaving. He doesn't want to leave now. He wants to stay here, but what's he supposed to do? He doesn't know when we're out. Is he supposed to just, if he was going to do it the right way, he's got to go into the portal now and find his next home. So everyone agrees, I think, that the calendar is all messed up, but I don't understand. No one knows how they can fix it. I don't think there's an easy solution.
Is it also, though,
a stadium could tell?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Is there not also an important point to be made here, though, that we're all hypocrites in this regard? I mean, you can utter the name Lane Kiffin, and people will roll their eyes. Oh my God! Oh, here we go again. I mean, how fascinated with himself is this guy? But is it even really fair for any of us to be surprised that these folks become, many of them, as self-absorbed as they do?
Yeah.
When it's on the 24/7 news cycle, there's nothing but Lane Kiffin coverage. Like
there's
hit. Something significant through this whole episode that's at stake. So you're going to start believing the world revolves around you, correct?
Of course. And as you know, there is no more self-absorbed group of people than college football coaches. It's just it. Because
it's self-perpetuating.
Especially in these college towns, everything revolves around them, and here's the coach, and they've got 50 people doing all the different things for him. Of course he's going to feel that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he? It's human nature.
I just think if we really mean what we say is they got to get over themselves, we got to get over them.
Yeah.
Now, again, you got to cover the story, but it's these stories are reported like there's so much more at stake than it really is.
And that poor Marty Smith, the reporter, basically just hanging out in Oxford the whole time. That was the funniest part of the whole weekend. They just kept going back to him. And he's trying to give the info, and then he's at the airport, and I guess I knew Lane Kiffin was a big deal, obviously, but it is amazing to me even how much it's broken through. And it's the LSU factor, too. It's one of the glitzy jobs.
Yes.
Yeah, probably the top 2 or 3 jobs in the country, but it is cut through. I mean, it's up there with NFL coverage right now on the national network.
100%. So is it also fair to say, I don't have Lane Kiffin's resume in front of me, but I thought I read that he has not won a single postseason game of significance at any level yet. Is that true?
That would check out. Yeah, that would check out.
I'm not sure to say that means he's overrated, but it's just kind of ironic because I know what he did at Ole Miss was pretty, seemed good, and
really
they were
good.
In position, one would think, to make a run, but he's never really made a run.
No.
In all seriousness, in the postseason.
Because he's had a fascinating career being a coordinator with Pete Carroll, right, on those great USC teams. Then he gets the Tennessee job. He gets a head job when he's like 30.
Yeah.
He gets the Tennessee job.
The Raiders
thing.
A disaster.
That's a disaster. And then he, finds a way with Alabama. He got the USC job. He's fired on the tarmac. Then he gets to Alabama. He goes to the Nick Saban halfway house for reclaimed coaches, rehabilitates himself there, gets the Ole Miss job, and he did a great job at Ole Miss. I mean, unbelievable job at Ole Miss to get them where they are now. But, yeah, he's been around so long, you feel like he's actually more accomplished than he probably is. But that's why it's crazy. He's such a big name.
All right, we've got Louis in about a half hour, top 5 at 5. What are we going to talk about?
We've got Wolves tonight. We've got Wild tonight, an honor for the Great Wall of St. Paul. And believe it or not, we've got some Twins steam. That will not be surprising to anybody, but might be annoying.
Oh, good enough. I look forward to it. All that is next here in the Fan.